Here's the entrance to Lamar Alexander Rocky Fork State Park. So, a little after 12:30, I'm heading up the Rocky Fork Trail right beside the Rocky Fork Creek. This is off to the side and you can hear it. Here's a GPS track of my entire route, both the backpack and the day hike. Lamar Alexander gets a lot of the credit for this wonderful park being preserved. There's a state park, and then outside of that, a lot of land that was added to the Forest Service. And wonderful area because it's surrounded by, on one side by wilderness, the Sampson Mountain Wilderness, and then a scenic backcountry area on the other side, and then a third side would be the Appalachian Trail corridor. So, a very nice area. I'm hiking along the Rocky Fork Creek for about half a mile. Then I'll turn left and go up the Flint Mill Trail along Flint Creek to Flint Gap, and then maybe to the AT shelter up there. Here's a GPS track of my backpack to the campsite. Well, I'm just about to cross the bridge across Rocky Fork. It's a fairly new bridge. It used to be just a wet crossing. But a very nice bridge now, which I'll show a picture of right after this video. This really is a super bridge across Rocky Fork. That's looking upstream and downstream. And then I'm heading up the Flint Creek Trail that way. And here's a view of the bridge from down below. Okay, here's one of the sites I wanted to see on this hike. It's the location of the Flint Creek battle, which occurred in 1789 between Chickamauga warriors and the local militia. It's just now it's just an opening in the woods, obviously. But back then may have been more open, I don't know. But there was actually a massacre of Indians, which seems to have happened too often here, whether justified or not. I don't know. I'll talk a little more about it later on. But this is where the battle took place. Maybe 300 feet or so of opening in the woods, right beside Flint Creek and not far from Rocky Fork Creek. I'm standing now at the upper end of the kind of a semicircle opening where the battle occurred, and 145 Chickamauga Indians were killed here. Some reports describe it as more of a massacre than a battle. Led by John Sevier, who was the military leader of the state of Franklin during its short-lived existence as a split off from the state of North Carolina. Shortly after this battle, which was kind of decisive for the Indians, in a negative way, of course, the state of Franklin was dissolved, and the area of East Tennessee became part of North Carolina again. But way back, something historic happened here. It was in January. The Indians had their winter camp here, and Sevier surrounded them and basically wiped them out. Not a good thing, obviously. So by around 2 o'clock, I've got my camp set up, going to get some water. That's my tent. They've got a very nice fire ring. There's one other tent site, tent platform. Only two of them here, and it's up on the side of the hill. No water close by. The water you can kind of hear down there maybe, but the creek, Flint Creek, is way down that way. This is near the campsite. The Flint Creek is over there. A little tiny creek that I just got water out of, and which the trail runs along for a bit, is right there. And up there on the ridge above is, that ridge is where the campsite is. And there's the trail going up to the campsite. And right there is my water, a drip hydration system. So I should have some fresh water when I get back. And I'm heading up this trail to Flint Gap. Here's a GPS track of my route, starting at the campsite at top right, going to the trail shelter at the bottom left. This is just one of 17 bridges that the park rangers built in building this trail. They mainly used old logging roads for the trail itself, but the bridges were pretty tough, and they built a bunch of them, obviously. Not always necessary like right now at this water level, but at higher water levels it would be. There's a beautiful little side stream to Flint Creek and a waterfall coming down, small waterfall. And back down to the trail as it's climbing up and up and up. I didn't see a lot of wildflowers, but did see several of these purple flowered raspberry, and of course lots of rhododendron. The last 2/10 of a mile or so, I'm not sure yet, is incredibly steep, going up to the gap, Flint Creek Gap or Flint Gap. That was the lower part. And there it goes up and to the left, and maybe that's the gap up there, we'll see. Well, I was right about where the gap was, more or less anyway, as I've climbed even more steeply up to this level right here, and it's really great to see. Let me show you. Right over there is an Appalachian Trail sign, and the Appalachian Trail comes down there and goes up there. Here's another look at Flint Gap, and I am heading up again, hopefully not as much, on the Appalachian Trail. There's the white blaze to the trail shelter. Around 5 o'clock, after a lot of climbing, I'm to the shelter. About 2.9 miles, and here is the Flint Mountain Shelter, I guess it's called. It's a very nice shelter. Nobody in it right now. Wouldn't be a bad place to spend the night, for sure. So I'm sitting in front of the shelter, and pretty tired. Actually done 7.5 miles or so today, backpacking and hiking. But it's been beautiful and not too hot, although The temperature, I think, is, close to 80, 75 to 80 at least during the day. So, it's been a good trip, and I'm heading back to the camp now. Well, I'm back in camp. It's a little after 7. Hiked around 7 miles, I guess, today. And I'm really tired. But didn't have to do much. I guess I got picked up the water that had been dripping all day. And washed off a bit. And got my stuff ready to go for dinner there. And ready to enjoy listening to the creek down in the valley there. It's getting toward 8 p.m. and getting dark around here. And I'm finally cooking dinner. Got some cold iced tea and some hot water for bouillon. And for dinner tonight, I'm having whole grain pasta with marinara sauce, which I've had before, and it's pretty good. And there's my campsite. I doubt if I'm going to build a fire tonight. It's pretty hot. And down there, of course, is the creek, and I can hear it really well, so that'll be nice tonight. And I can hear some birds as the sun is beginning to set up there, I guess, although there's still a lot of light in the sky. One of the nice things about waking up in the wilderness are the morning sounds, and especially the creek gurgling down below, which I have, of course, and the sound of birds, which I also have. Maybe you can hear them in the background. Well, had a great night. It was slightly cool. Didn't even get in the sleeping bag until maybe 3 a.m. But really good for sleeping. Quiet, except for the birds chirping this morning and the creek down below all night. The guy that was camped over there was gone when I got up. He got up really early, he and his dog. And I'm doing breakfast, which I'm boiling water for oatmeal. Got some powdered orange juice there, Crystal Light, and then hot chocolate. And shortly we'll be taking down my tent and heading out. Got up around 7:30, got in the tent around 9:30, so I was in the tent a long 10 hours or so and slept most of it, actually. I was tired. Sun is just coming up over the ridge there. Here I've hiked down the Flint Creek Trail to the Rocky Fork and am hiking along the Rocky Fork to the Trailhead. This is a beautiful waterfall that you have to go off trail a bit to see, and which I missed on the hike up. Okay, I'm getting close to the trailhead for the Rocky Fork Trail, and we'll hiked and backpacked a little over 9 miles on an overnight trip, so pretty good for me. The roaring of the creek, Rocky Fork Creek right beside me, is probably drowning out my voice, but it's really nice to walk beside, and I found a new waterfall cascade coming out that I had not seen going up. So I'm just about to the trailhead, and a good backpack, perfect weather, hot, but no rain, and for me not too hot. I kind of like the hot weather. So that's it for today. Well, the backpack went perfectly, but the drive home didn't. At the I-40-81 split, I had a really bad, ugly-looking blowout, but this guy from AAA got it fixed, actually, within just a little over an hour.